Hi, this is my first video on my booktube channel. I'm very excited to start this channel because reading is a part of my everyday life and I absolutely love reading, especially dark academia and classics. I have another channel which is just my name, Meg Dion, where I post guitar, dance, acting, but I felt like books needed to exist on a separate corner of the internet, which is why I've started this channel. I will not bore you with a long intro. We can talk more about reading in another video. Okay, here are a bunch of short books you can add to your reading list because some of us have reading goals for how many books we want to read in a year, and these can help you get to that number a lot faster. And while I do think reading goals kind of feed into the whole mass consumption of books that's happening right now, I've seen people discuss how books are almost becoming like fast fashion. I still do think sometimes it's fun to read something short and get that instant gratification of finishing a book, and I do really enjoy shorter stories, to be honest. So first up we have The Stranger / The Outsider. It just goes by different titles. This is by Albert Camus, I believe is how you say his name, and I will read you the back. Mother died today, or maybe yesterday, I don't know. I don't know how to say this main character's name, but Marcel is different. He will not lie, he will not pretend, he is true to himself. So when his mother dies and he is unmoved, he refuses to do the proper thing and grieve. Returning to Algiers after the funeral, he carries on life as usual until he becomes involved in a violent murder. In court, it is clear that Marcel's guilt or innocence will not be determined by what he did or did not do. He's on trial for something different, being an outsider. His work is known for being deeply philosophical. While I was reading it, I was like, this narrator kind of feels a little bit insufferable, but then once I put it down, I still think about it to this day, and I think because this is one of my first few classics I read, I maybe didn't appreciate it fully, so I would love to revisit this one. I have to get my favorite book of all time out of the way, and that is, I believe you say, De Profundis by Oscar Wilde, and this is essentially a hate letter to his ex that Oscar Wilde wrote from prison while being imprisoned for being gay. This is the copy that I actually read from, and as you can see, almost every page is deeply underlined. Favorite book of all time. It's just incredible. I know it's technically not a book, it's a long letter, but we'll call it a book for simplicity's sake. This is another very famous one, but Letters to a Young Poet. Another one that I underlined a lot of. This is about a man who writes to a poet, and this book is essentially their letter exchange. We don't see what is sent to the poet, but we see the poet's responses, and it's just all about life and being an artist, being a creative, how to stay true to yourself. There is a period of life of every artist when his whole being seems lost in a contemplation of the surrounding world, when the application to work is difficult, like the violent forcing of something that is awaiting its time. I honestly don't even know how to summarize this book. It's just, I think if you are someone who is feeling lost in life, if you're a creative, just anyone should read this book, and it's very, very short. It's only 73 pages. This gorgeous copy of Animal Farm. I'm a huge George Orwell fan, and I read this back in high school and it still stuck with me. Animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It tells the story of farm animals who rebel against their human farmer, hoping to create a society where the animals can be equal, free, and happy. Ultimately, the rebellion is betrayed, and under the dictatorship of a pig named Napoleon, the farm ends up in a state as bad as it was before. So, as we know, George Orwell loves social commentary. This is a great read. This book has a very special place in my heart because it's the first classic I ever read, and it got me into classic literature. We have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This obviously follows a scientist who kind of has this slew of experiments where you drink this potion and become like the most evil, cynical, dark side of you. And I think we all kind of know the plot already, that it is actually the scientists switching from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde back and forth. Through most of the book you think they are two different people and you think there's just someone kind of wreaking havoc all over this village, but that doesn't spoil the entire plot because there is still a lot to say, sort of like Frankenstein, about man versus nature, playing God, morality, and the human conscience. This is definitely one of my favorite books. Silence in the Age of Noise by Erling Kage. I'm not sure how you say that. Erling Kage. Erling Kage, famed Norwegian explorer and the first person to reach the South Pole alone, explores the silence around us, the silence within us, and the silence we must create. By recounting his own experiences and discussing the observations of poets, artists, and explorers, Kage That's why silence is essential to our sanity and happiness and how it can open doors to wonder and gratitude. This is my next read once I finish Rouge. This is Kafka's Metamorphosis, and I've heard amazing things about it. The intro alone had me hooked. Welcome to the intriguing world of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis, a literary masterpiece that delves into the mysterious realm of human consciousness and the complex web of human relationships. Published in 1915, this novella has captivated readers for over a century, inspiring countless interpretations and discussions on its profound themes. So it's about a man who basically wakes up as, I think, some sort of beetle. In the heart of a bustling city, Gregor Samsa awakens to find himself undergoing a transformation more bewildering than any dream. No longer the dutiful son and breadwinner, he is now a creature, estranged from his own self, his own sense of self, and the world around him. As the lines blur between human and the monstrous, Kafka's Metamorphosis delves deep into the complexities of identity, societal expectations, and the lengths at which we go to find acceptance. This masterful tale, both haunting and profoundly introspective, challenges readers to question the nature of humanity and the unseen chains that bind us. Yeah, I cannot wait to read this one, and as you can see, very short. The Penguin Publishing Company has all these smaller reads from famous philosophers. So we have, I believe you say, Friedrich Nietzsche, and this book here from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, The Social Contract. So I would recommend, if you want to get into philosophy, get in kind of more of a bite-sized read, then you can pick up these smaller philosophy books. Next, I have two art books. I want to do a whole video on books you should read as an artist, as a creative, because oh my gosh, I have so many good recommendations. But we have How Art Can Make You Happy by Bridget Watson Payne and How to Be an Artist by Jerry Saltz. And they're pretty self-explanatory from those titles. I have Selected Stories and Poems by Edgar Allan Poe. As you can see here, I have like a little picture of Poe, and it's from one of my favorite artists, Creepy Christine. Check her out, I'll link her stuff below. She also made this Frankenstein photo. His says, "We loved with a love that was more than love," and it's one of my favorite things in my room. And so I absolutely love Poe's work, and he's so famous I don't feel like I need to go on and on about him. Big recommendation, and this is On Sun Swallowing by Dakota Warren, Poetry and Prose. This book is absolutely stunning. Just look at some of the imagery in it, if you can see. Actually, the girl who got me into classic literature, I stumbled upon her channel one day. I think I was searching how to expand my vocabulary, which like definitely comes from reading classics. I laughed, I cried, I felt seen. On Sun Swallowing is a sweet and bloody collection of poetry, prose, and journal extracts dancing in the spaces between girlhood and godhood, satin and switchblades, salvation and damnation. Warren navigates her youth in all things soft, dreamy, and delicate, drenched in gasoline and set ablaze. Her sharp lyricism and cutthroat vulnerability dares to haunt your ghosts back, to relish in duality, dismantle dichotomy, and exist as yourself, deliciously undefinable. Think philosophy between cotton sheets, existentialism cross-legged on the shower floor, cheap cigarettes, even cheaper wine, and an oath to reach hell by midnight and be home in time for work in the morning. If that doesn't get you interested in this, I don't know what will. Last one I have for you today is Carmilla, and this is a sapphic gothic horror novel. It's not, I guess it's not really horror, but it's basically all things vampires. I have quite a bit underlined here, and this is actually the book that inspired Dracula. I don't know what year it was published. It was originally published in 1871 or 1872. So yes, this is a great book. It follows a girl who is kind of haunted by this vampire, and I won't give too much away, but yes, this is on a lot of people's list of favorite classics. Okay, those are short books you can add to your reading list to kind of check off more books, or if you're just in the mood to kind of finish something a little bit shorter and not get into a novel with hundreds of pages, I highly recommend these. Thank you so much for being here. I have a TikTok called Meg's Book Talk page. I know, so original. I couldn't think of anything cool for that. And as you know, my channel on here is Meg's Books. If you're interested in following my TikTok page, please do, and if you want to subscribe, I would love to have you here. I love talking about books. Let me know what you thought of any of these from the stack. We have so many here. If you've read them and enjoyed them, or if you didn't enjoy them, let me know why. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!